So I'm guessing that by now you guys have heard of this fella here, Diego León. He is now officially in Manchester. He is set to undergo a medical before hopefully being unveiled and announced as a Manchester United player, although he won't actually be able to play for us until the summer. But this is a new signing coming into the club. It's exciting, except there is one issue. No one knows anything about him. Although I do know a little bit. It is only a little bit. And that is what we are going to be looking at today. What he would actually bring to Manchester United. But before we get into that, if you guys could quickly subscribe to the channel, it would be amazing. So, please subscribe. And then we'll get into the video. So first things first, you guys have probably seen this picture by now. And you think we're signing a 30-year-old bodybuilder. But no, this is a 17-year-old. He's ridiculous physically. Look at the frame. This is a man. This is not a boy. This is a man. He is an absolute unit. Physically very strong, very broad, very powerful, and that kind of reflects in his play style as well. He's an athletic runner, up and down the left-hand side all day, but incredible acceleration, incredible speed, and it really does affect the way that he plays. And it actually potentially makes him ideal for, in the future, a left wing-back role. We know that Manchester United use this structure where we often build possession with a front five. And I say this all the time, it allows you to create an overload, and we often have space on the far side of the pitch. We've often seen this with Diogo Dalot. Diego León physically is just the perfect player to try and take advantage of that, because the speed running into these areas is just absolutely ridiculous. You can also see in his heat map, he likes to play in this area. This is where he has operated so far in his career. He would really offer something to United. Raw physicality. If you look at the other players on the left-hand side, Bruno Fernandes, Kobbie Mainoo, Lisandro Martinez, none of them are athletes in particular. They're not powerful guys and not quick. This young man is. He is absolutely rapid up and down that left side of the pitch, and it makes it a good signing in theory because it brings something very different to what we currently have. Now, as well as bombing into space, León is also good actually when he's got the ball at his feet and there are players near him, which is important. You know, in the Premier League, you don't get too much time on the ball. But this young man has shown the capability to take people on, again using a lot of power, but also actual subtle manipulation. You can see it in situations like this. When he receives the ball in these wide positions, what he will often do is really decelerate. So you will see if we go back one clip here. Here he's starting to open the legs up, he's going a little bit quicker, he's trying to get round on the overlap to be a passing option. Once he gets the ball, he slows right down. You will see the stance has changed, he slows right down. Now the reason he does this is because I think he knows that it's going to draw a defender closer to him. If you run really fast towards the ball and then quickly slow down, opposition defenders will very often come close to you to try and close you down a little bit. What León then tends to do, certainly from what I've seen, although I do have limited knowledge, what he tends to do is just wait for the moment that the defender plants himself. If you look at the defender's feet here, you can see that he is now almost fixed to the floor. As the defender plants, this is when León then takes a really big touch. He will knock it 10, 15, sometimes even 20 yards ahead, knowing and just trusting the fact that athletically he's an absolute beast and he's just going to motor past him. He's going to absolutely burn him up on the left-hand side. You can see it here. The defender ends up nowhere near really. And again, this is something that we've got a few clips of. You can see it again here, receiving the ball out wide. Initially, a very relaxed stance on the ball, which draws the defender toward him because the defender thinks, he's not going anywhere. Let's get towards him. Let's close him down. But again, what the young man's going to do is wait for the defender to sort of plant both feet. And as the defender does that, that's when this young left wing back is going to take his aggressive touch. And again, going around the outside, he actually leaves this defender looking like a bit of an idiot because athletically, physically, he is a joke. Now, of course, if León is to make it in the Premier League and certainly at Manchester United, he has to have more in his game than just knocking it and running. Fortunately, he does. Again, the footage I've seen is quite limited, but we've seen a bit of a passing range in that footage. We have seen the ability to receive the ball under pressure in moments, to play inside the pitch into a central midfielder. I've seen examples of him playing really well weighted passes into the feet of a striker, which is important in that area of the pitch because the opposition do often have the chance to intercept. So you've got to really fire that ball in with a bit of pace, but León does that. And also then the other ball we've seen a fair amount of is the sort of clipped ball down the line. We know that Luke Shaw always used to like this pass, clipping the ball down the line for a winger or a striker to run onto. And of course, we've got a couple of examples of this in moments like this. You can see him a little bit deeper here than what we've seen in the previous two clips, receiving the ball from higher up the pitch, and this for a first-time pass is just delightful. Just delightful. He just clips it into an area These are the passes that managers often love. You don't always have to pass into the feet of a player. If you put it into a good zone, it puts the opposition on the back foot. And this is exactly what you can see here. He just puts it into a great area for his striker to get into the channel, and immediately the whole team is able to gain 20, 30 yards up the pitch. But there's variety to this as well. Again, you can see here, he has a look up. He sees that he's got a little bit of time. Am I in the way of this again? I am. Let me move myself. There you go. You can see him having a look up. He's getting his head up. He's assessing his options. And then again, he's going to play this sort of clipped pass forward. This time, slightly more central. But again, into the chest of his striker. He's trying to move his team up the pitch. And again, you can see the sort of space that this now opens up in these areas here. His team could now move forward and attack. And this is something that would be valuable to Manchester United. But the most important thing for me is variety of passes. It can't all be clipped in behind. Sometimes you have got to go into the middle of the pitch. And I think this is a really nice example of a well-weighted pass. Now, yes, of course, he has a lot of time on the ball here, which you don't always get in the Premier League, although sometimes you do. Sometimes teams do sit quite deep. But I really like the weight of pass on this, because if that pass through there, let's just go back a second. If that pass is sort of trickled through, we can see there's 3 players in theory who could go intercept that ball. But because there's good weight on the pass, good power, it's perfect for the receiver. It goes through the lines, and this player here can get the ball and now take the ball on the turn. So I actually really like that. Now that is of course a positive for Diego León in terms of his passing. It's good that he's got that variety to his game, that range of passing. Beautiful, we love to see that. But I have also picked up on something which is a little bit concerning for me. You see, even in those clips there, we saw a couple of instances where, yes, the forwards are being found, but they are receiving with the ball at their chest, which isn't ideal. But also sometimes I get the feeling, in the brief clips that I've seen, that he's trying to play forward very, very quickly. Now, in the clips we're about to look at, he completes the passes, so they look good. They look like great passes. But I just think if we're talking about trying to adapt to the Premier League, I think you have to show moments of calmness, the ability to get the ball down and keep it and go sideways a little bit. And just in a couple of these clips, I haven't seen that so much. Now, of course, again, very young, very raw. This is fine. He's 17 years old, playing in the Paraguayan league. We're going to have some issues, right? There are going to be some flaws. But it's just in moments like this, when he gets the ball backwards, it's this panic at times almost, the way he smashes the ball forward. Now, again, the pass is accurate. It's not easy to control, but it is accurate, and his team does progress the ball from here. And perhaps this is instruction. This may not be his play style. The manager may literally tell him to do this. But it's just something that I look at and wonder if, in the Premier League, does it work so well? Again, as he receives the ball backwards here, I would love him to show a little bit of calm and slide that ball into midfield. I'd love to see him do that. But again, he's a little bit, I don't know, overly aggressive with his passing, if you know what I mean. He wants to get the ball forward quite quickly. Now again, on this occasion, he completes the pass. But it's not an easy pass to control. You know, it's on the chest in midfield. That's tough. So I just wonder if maybe that's something that you would need to work on. Taking extra touches on the ball and actually almost just slowing it down a little bit. Now, whilst I may have a couple of concerns over his profile, which, by the way, is completely normal. He's 17 years old. I do not expect a complete player. He should have flaws. He does. That's normal. He's a human. Despite that, I actually think tactically his profile is a nice fit for what United are looking at. We've seen already the sheer pace and athleticism he has. That's exactly what you want at wing-back. You want, I would say, at least one of the wing-backs to be powerful, to be someone that strides through the pitch, and again, particularly down the left-hand side, I think we are crying out for that power athlete, and this guy ticks all the boxes of being that. He's phenomenal down this side of the pitch, the motor, the engine, but again, for me, it's really that acceleration, the ability to go from stop-start is so impressive. He is absolutely lightning. I love that side of his game. I think it would be really valuable for Manchester United in moments like this where, you know, defenders are trying to confront him, he's able to knock the ball past them. United need a player that can go into these areas. Currently, we don't really have anyone. Dalot gets into this position quite regularly, but will then often cut back because, of course, he's right-footed, so he wants to play on his right foot. León, being left-footed, naturally wants to deliver from the left-hand side. Now, again, of course, the delivery isn't perfect. This is a very young player who needs work on his technique. But again, if we're talking about a raw profile, he's got an unbelievable physical base to get himself into promising positions, again down the left-hand side. United need this. Someone that can attract players towards them. Here, there's 3 defenders occupied by him, and we're talking about a defender here. And still, he's able to burst past them, run into the open spaces, into these areas. It's ridiculous the way that he toasts people in these situations. But what I've also liked from the clips that I've seen is that he can go the other way as well. I'm not talking about running backwards towards his own goal. I haven't seen much of that. But actually, he can go inside the pitch, in situations like this, moving infield with the ball. So the winger might perhaps be a little bit wider. Diego León is going to go into the middle of the pitch and drive. Now what this shows more than anything to me is technical quality to take the ball in a tougher area, but also extreme confidence. And that is what you need as a young player at Manchester United. You need a bit of confidence, a bit of arrogance, of course humility as well, but you need to believe in yourself. And he does in these positions. He takes the player on, he draws him towards him. As soon as the defender comes close, again, he bursts away, he moves into this position. You could argue he should release the ball to the left-hand side, but he chooses not to. He shoots, and it's a really good goal. Really, really good goal. And again, look how narrow he is when he hits this. This is something that United could do with, again, down the left-hand side, and the defender assumes he's going to go out wide. Because that's what he normally does, people assume he's going to go that way. But again, he's got this ability to change that, particularly as the opposition dive in. That's when he changes direction. He waits for the defender to make the move and is then going to beat them. Now, in the Premier League, of course, defenders are much better. But we're talking about a player, hopefully, in perhaps 3 years' time, breaking into the first team and doing this sort of thing. Beating players in this area. And I think for the long-term benefit of Ruben Amorim and his system, again, it's the ideal profile. We want players that can go both ways to make us more fluid in the way that we play, more unpredictable, more difficult to set up against. So, of course, León is such a young player. He's 17 years old, coming from a much weaker league. He's going to be a few seasons away from even getting near the first team, I would imagine. It's going to take a bit of time. But the profile is nice. The physical base is ridiculous. The technical, I see some quality there and some things that United can work with. Of course, there are flaws in his game, but that should be the case. He should have flaws. He's human, and a 17-year-old human at that. So I quite like the look of this. I think it's the sort of business that United need to do more regularly. It's low risk, realistically, in terms of financially. There's a high reward if we get ourselves a good player there, or we have to sell him for a profit in the future. I think it's a nice signing for United. I think it's the sort of signing we need to do more of. I like what I'm seeing. Of course, hopefully we see him more in the academy, and then we can really judge him properly. But for now, these are my thoughts. Those are my opinions. I want to hear yours in the comments down below. More than the player itself, do you like this type of signing? Signing these youngsters from different leagues, different countries to perhaps what we normally do. Personally, I like it. I think it's a good idea. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Apart from that, we are finished for today. So thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.